Justice like I join with all people whose rights are denied. Take for granted privileged place. In grace for human race.
And you may be seated. My name is Reverend Stephen Kendrick, minister here at the Unitarian Society of New Haven, and my pronouns are he and his. Welcome to all of you, whether you are friends, family, fellow colleagues in this movement, and those who are part of Jamie's wider world of interfaith. It's good that we're here together. The recognition of this ministry is important not only to Jamie, because she's worked so hard to achieve this day, and that's why we're here to celebrate with you, but it's important to our movement as well. And it's important to every person whose bedside you go to. It's important to the bereavement group that you offer here in this congregation. It's important in every piece of ministry you do, because you've learned to listen deeply. You go into the shadowed places, and also you have learned to celebrate with others. And it is with this sense of pain and also of happiness, even ecstasy and transcendence, that you fuse together a ministry. That is what we are here to recognize today. Your attainment, your work, all the things you have done to bring you to this ceremony. And now I invite forward Lisa Anderson, Church and Ordination Committee representing this congregation, in terms of some of the shepherds who went along with you on the journey. Thank you, Lisa.
Good afternoon. I'd like to add my welcome to you who are here in person and online. My name is Lisa Anderson. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a worship associate at USNH. It's a privilege and an honor for our congregation to gather with you, Jamie's beloved family, friends, clergy, colleagues, on this momentous day as she formally enters the ministry. We are blessed to have her in the world as a minister, and also so fortunate that she will remain part of this congregation as a community minister. Clearly, many, many people have accompanied Jamie on the path, in this milestone on her journey. Again, it's her family, the gathered colleagues, the clergy, and our USNH staff. And most importantly, all of you. We know no one has worked harder than Jamie. It is traditional at USNH to start our worship services by lifting up our aspiration to be an anti-racist, open congregation where everyone is welcome, regardless of sexual orientation, ethnicity, income status, everyone. One of our most central principles as Unitarian Universalists is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, I have read these words, or a variation thereof, many, many times from this pulpit. But it wasn't really until I had the opportunity to work with Jamie, I began to fully appreciate what these aspirations look like in action. And I can say unequivocally, I have never met anyone in my life who exemplifies this cherished principle of our faith more than you, Jamie. Now, let me turn to a few announcements. For those of you who have trouble hearing, there are learning devices in the back. The designated rows on the right are reserved for people wearing masks. See, that's worked. And finally, you are warmly invited to a reception immediately following this service. Now, please turn off your devices and settle into worship. We are now ready to begin the service. Let us covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good afternoon, everyone. I tried really hard not to cry, but as soon as I saw you come out, I was crying, but I'm gonna get through it. I got it. In Blackwater Woods. Look, the trees are turning. I'm so sorry.
Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light and are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the pond. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires in the Black River of Loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things. You must be able to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes to let it go, let it go. It's okay.
Now that is what pastoral care looks like.
Congregation, would you please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We will sing one time in unison, and then we will sing twice through in canon. Section 1 over here, Section 2 will follow me, and Section 3 will follow Jackie. Come, come, whoever you are.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Leka Lewis, and I use she and they pronouns. And I am so excited to be here. I invite you into a posture of contemplation, however that lands in your body, however that feels in your body. Pray to whoever you kneel down to. Jesus nailed to his wooden or marble or plastic cross, his suffering face bent to kiss you. Buddha still under the bo tree in scorching heat. Adonai, Allah, raise your arms to Mary that she may lay her palm on our brows. To Shekinah, Queen of heaven and earth, to Anana in her stripped descent. Hawk or wolf or the great whale, record keeper of time before, time now, time ahead, pray. Bow down to terriers and shepherds and Siamese cats, fields of artichokes and elegant strawberries. Pray to the bus driver who takes you to work. Pray on the bus. Pray for everyone riding that bus and for everyone riding buses all over the world. If you haven't been on a bus in a long time, climb the few steps, drop a silver, and pray. Waiting in line for the movies, for the ATM, for your latte and croissant, offer your plea. Make your eating and drinking a supplication. Make your slicing of carrots a holy act. Each translucent layer of the onion a deeper prayer. Make the brushing of your hair a prayer. Each strand its own voice, singing in the choir on your head. As you wash your face, the water slipping through your fingers, a prayer. Water, softest thing on earth, gentleness that wears away rock. Making love, of course, is already a prayer. Skin and open mouths worshiping that skin, the fragile case we are poured into, each caress a season of peace. If you're hungry, pray. If you're tired, pray to Gandhi and Dorothy Day, Shakespeare, Sappho, Sojourner Truth. Pray to the angels and the ghost of your grandfather.
When you walk to your car, to the mailbox, to the video store, let each step be a prayer, that we all keep our legs, that we do not blow off anyone else's legs or crush their skulls. And if you are riding on a bicycle or a skateboard, in a wheelchair, each revolution of the wheels a prayer, that as the earth revolves, we will do less harm, less harm, less harm. And as you work, typing with a new manicure, a tiny palm tree painted on one pearlescent nail, or delivering soda, or drawing good blood into rubber-capped vials, writing on a blackboard with yellow chalk, twirling pizzas, pray for peace. With each breath in, take in the faith of those who have believed when belief seemed foolish, who persevered. With each breath out, cherish. Pull weeds for peace. Turn over in your sleep for peace. Feed the birds for peace. Each shiny seed that spills onto the earth, another second of peace. Wash your dishes. Call your mother. Drink wine. Shovel leaves or snow or trash from your sidewalk. Make a path. Fold a photo of a dead child around your Visa card. Gnaw your crust of prayer. Scoop your prayer water from the gutter. Mumble along like a crazy person, stumbling your prayer through the streets.
My name is Laconia Terrio. I was with Jamie in CPE classes, and she asked me to tell a story. And I've racked my brain to get away from this story, but Jamie, this is the only story that I believe is emblematic of you. Once there was a young girl, and it was her job to take 2 water pots down from the top of the hill where the house was located. She'd go half-mile down to the stream. She would fill both water pots up. She would then walk back up the hill and place the water pots on the ground. One morning, the girl picked both water pots. She walked down to the stream. She filled both water pots up. Walked back up the hill, placed them on the ground, and the water pot on the left went. And the girl said, "What's wrong?" And the water pot said, "Well, you go down to the stream and you fill me and my sister up. You walk back up the hill. When you put us down, my sister is full, but I'm only half full because I've got a crack in my side and I am leaking. I am not doing my job." The girl said, "Did you see anything as we walked up your part of the trail coming up the hill?" The cracked pot said, "I saw nothing. Tell me what you see tomorrow." The next morning, the girl picked up both water pots. She walked down to the stream. She filled both water pots up, walked back up to the top of the hill, placed them on the ground, and the cracked pot went. And the girl said, "What's wrong?" I am not doing my job. My sister's full. I'm only half full. I'm leaking." The girl asked, "Did you do what I encouraged you to do?" And the cracked pot said, "Yes." The girl said, "What did you see?" And the cracked pot said, "Flowers, herbs." And then the girl said, "You don't get it, do you?" And the cracked pot said, Get what? The girl said, I knew that you had a crack in your side. And one day when you weren't looking, I went along your side of the trail and planted flower seeds and herbal seeds. And at nighttime, my parents and I, we take the flowers and we put them in a vase. We take the herbal seeds and we cook with them. And only then did the cracked pot truly understand. And Jamie, I chose that story because in CPE, we both embrace our crackedness. And what I appreciate about you is how you embrace the crackedness of others.
Let us rise again in body or spirit and sing Blue Boat Home. N64.
I just wanted to say what an honor it is to be up here. Thank you, Jamie. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans, and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside you, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Dr. Cynthia Landrum. I'm the minister of the UU Church of Stowe in Acton, Massachusetts. And I know Jamie through our work in Fat Liberation together. And so it's a delight to say that our offering today is going to two different sources, two different funds. One is the Living Tradition Fund of the UUA, and the other is a small but growing UU Fat Liberation organization. Sorry, my Bell's palsy makes F's difficult, so Fat Liberation is hard to say. So the Living Tradition Fund helps ministers in times of trouble. I know a lot about that. I've gone through a lot of times of trouble in my life, and the Living Tradition Fund of the UUA has been there for me so many times. This recent period where my husband had major heart surgery, the Living Tradition Fund leader reached out to me and said, "Let us know what you need. We're here when we need you," before I even asked. Most recently, before that, they bought me a mobility scooter when I needed one. Insurance didn't cover it, and I had no way to fund that. Ministers often graduate with large student debt and go into a profession which, while sometimes can do well by us, many times does not. And often into retirement we go without the money and the funds to live anymore. And the Living Tradition Fund is there and has helped so many ministers in need over the years. The second part of our offering today goes to the new organization, UU Fat Liberation. We're not really yet even an organization. We haven't finished our bylaws. We haven't set up our officers. But what we have done is made an impact in our faith. And that's a large part thanks to Jamie's help and support. I mean, she's going to downplay it and say, no, it's you, Cindy. But 2 years ago, we raised funds as an organization to have buttons and ribbons and just make an impact around General Assembly. You'll see buttons and ribbons around the church today that you can take and have that are part of that fundraising that we did, just to get the word out there that fatness is an issue. And then Jamie helped a team of us write a statement for the UUA board to pass, and they did. And so we're the first denomination that we know of, and that other religious leaders and other faiths I've talked to know of, that has passed a statement supporting fat people and our basic rights to live and be treated with dignity and respect. First denomination to do this. Since that was passed, the UUA has started taking more action. They brought in speakers to last year's General Assembly. They authorized the workshop that Jamie's part of for this year's General Assembly. They brought in me to lead a workshop teaching their UUA staff what this issue means and how we can do better as a faith and as staff of the association. This work that is just beginning is impacting our faith to be groundbreaking across denominations in the work of understanding that fat people are people and that we deserve respect, dignity, and basically that first principle. So for both of these organizations, I ask you to give generously as you're able and support this work because it is making a difference to the ministry and to the future of our faith. Thank you.
And in honor of all of the multitasking that ministers have to do, we're going to ask you to remain seated and hold the lyrics to this song in one hand and your money in the other as we pass the plates and sing together. This is my song.
Truly, we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouth of lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while ourselves dream of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, "Look," and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads.
My name is Julie Ann Silberman Bunn, and I am both an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister who has served congregations, but I am also a hospice chaplain. Last summer, a dear friend was dying. She was an amazing woman who had known me before I came into this world. She was one of my mother's dearest friends. Her name was Peg, and she died 12 days before her 99th birthday. For weeks before her death, I would go and sit with Peg, just sit at her bedside. Sometimes Peg would be alert, and we would talk. Sometimes I would tell her about the beautiful flowers outside of her hospice. Sometimes I would tell her how things looked up on the hill where we live and where she had spent so many joyful times. Mostly, I would put a chair at Peg's bedside and hold her hand and sit. Peg's daughter is a doer. Sitting is truly not in her nature. Sitting is not in most people's nature. Peg's daughter would tickle Peg's toes, ask if she wanted something to eat or drink, and fuss about blankets and the angle of the shades, and whether the window was open too much or closed too far. For me, sitting has been a learned skill. I attended a Quaker seminary, and in every class began with 5 to 10 minutes of silence. At first, I would sit in silence for a minute or two, certain that the 5 to 10 minutes had ended by then, and then I would doodle until the time had ended. Somewhere along the line of my studies, I grew to appreciate that silence, that unique silence found in a space with others. A collective silence is very, very different from the silence of nature or the silence of isolation. My understanding and appreciation of silence grew even more when I began to do chaplaincy work. In chaplaincy, it is easy to encounter people who aren't really talkers. Particularly old New England farmers are often shy on words, but so are many with dementia and people in the final stages of life. And still, the chaplain is there to provide them with spiritual care, and the easiest way to do that is to provide a ministry of presence at their bedside. Sometimes the chaplain will be holding a hand or having a hand placed on an arm or a shoulder. Sometimes the chaplain's hand is on the patient's bedding or even just in their own lap. Sometimes the chaplain shares a prayer out loud or in their own head. But often, the chaplain is simply there at the person's bedside, providing a ministry of presence. Sometimes that presence is 15 minutes, and sometimes it's an hour or two. It is the chaplain's job to feel what is needed in the moment and to provide for that need. When looking on the internet under ministry of presence, because the truth is these days you can look up almost anything, I found this passage on the Christian Working Woman's website as part of a much longer essay. The author wrote, "Not long ago, I was introduced to the term, the ministry of presence. A young couple in our church began a ministry to the homeless. people, and that they had encountered on the streets of Chicago around where they live. It started simply by reaching out to one or two, talking to them, inviting them to church, providing lunch for them. And it had grown to 60 homeless people they served every weekend. I love their story because it's such a clear example of what Jesus would do, wrote the author. Jesus would see the needs on his doorstep, just as Justin and Tara have done, and he would start helping them in any way he could. In telling us their story recently, Justin said that he has come to understand what the ministry of presence means. Justin says he takes it a bit of a habit to invite one of his homeless friends to run errands with him whenever possible. As he goes about his everyday work and routine, one day he invited one of the guys to join him. He took him along, stopped for coffee and a donut, and generally they spent the day together. No agenda, no specific purpose, other than to be with this man who happened to be homeless. As they made rounds that day, the homeless man said to him, "All my life, I have been told I am worthless and no good." Then he said, "I have always been told I was stupid and nobody would ever like me." "I don't believe that anymore," he said to Justin. So Justin asked why. And the man said, "If I was worthless, you wouldn't hang out with me." Justin's willingness to simply be with this man gave him a new understanding of his worth as a person. Justin said, "Homeless people need more than anything else is not money or food, but relationship. Someone to simply be with them and to care about them." And I add, that is the care and the core of much of chaplaincy. Simply be with and care about whoever it is that you are with, that you are offering chaplaincy to. And that frames the ministry of presence as a relationship with God and Christ. But personally, I frame it as a relationship with the divine or with the universal energy. But most importantly, it is a relationship between people. People who choose to connect intentionally. And sometimes unintentionally. It is those times when you are able to be with someone without trying to fill the time with chatter or tasks. It is the opportunity you provide yourself and others the chance to be instead of feeling obligated to do. Some folks are turned off by the language of God and Jesus or other biblical figures. Some people would be offended if they thought a chaplain was leaving God and Jesus out of the conversation they were offering. The job of a chaplain is simply to meet people where they are. And of course, that means not to offer where the chaplain is, or to try and meet them with what is our own comfortable theology and spirituality. Having been raised as a secular humanist, I am grateful for years of learning to find comfort with theological language that on the surface is not my own. I pray frequently to God and invoke Jesus' name because that is my job as a chaplain, to meet people where they are. I hear the divine. the universal spirit of love and goodness. In some communities, what I do with language and theology would be called code switching. Code switching means shaping language to work for you. Feminist theologians have long had to code switch. The Black church has done it, and so do liberation theologians, because theology is alive and ever-changing. Remember, we as Unitarian Universalists believe in continuing revelation, and that as knowledge grows and changes, so must our language and our understanding. Sometimes a ministry of presence avoids saying the wrong thing, but it allows you to connect on an energetic level, a level of spirit in the present moment, rather than being in your head. You are embodying that spirituality through your own physical presence in that moment. For me, a ministry of presence is truly sacred space and time. It is a time of abiding, not a time of reading or taking notes, listening to music. It is instead a time of being rather than doing. It is a time when my favorite phrase comes to play: we are human beings, not human doings. Being present, being whole, and completely in the moment, open to the sounds and the sights, and supporting another being by that simple act of presence and being whole. That is a ministry of presence. Naomi Shihab Nye has a piece, I call it an essay more than a poem, and I'm sure some of you have read it. It's called Gate A4. And the piece circulates frequently on the internet. And it is a reminder that there are many ways to be present in the moment. In it, an elderly woman who does not speak English is at an airport and in tears. The airline asks over the PA system if there's anyone who happens to speak that woman's language. Could they please join them at such and such a gate? And this woman responds. And she goes and she meets the woman, and they manage to communicate with each other, and they manage to build a relationship. And they manage to share cookies, and they manage to become friends. If we can support one another with words, with cookies or presents, we have made the world a little better for our patients. For the sacred act of being, a ministry of presence is something we can all offer to others in times of need. You need no common language. In fact, you need no language at all. All you need is to bring yourself, your wounded, battered, sacred being, into the space and do exactly what you are needed to do. Be. Stop doing. Start being. Amen. Salam, salam, and so may it be.
Good afternoon. I'm Sunny. I'm the ministerial intern here at USNH, and my pronouns are she and her. Jamie and I co-facilitate the bereavement group here, and we usually begin with a short meditation. So we're going to do a little meditation here today. You will notice in your order of service that following this meditation comes the act of ordination. The reason we have come from near and far away places, and the moment we've all been waiting for. So we're going to take a few moments before this act of ordination to ground and be mindfully aware of just how special this day and this now moment is. If you feel safe and comfortable doing so, I invite you to close your eyes. If you choose to keep your eyes open, you may wish to maintain a soft focus in the middle distance with heavy eyelids. Notice the weight of your body on the pew. Notice the connection of your feet to the floor, remembering that running down through the floor and the foundation of this sanctuary, we are connected to the earth. This beautiful planet, this blue boat we call home. Allow yourself to feel supported, to be held by this earth, surrounded by sun and moon and planets moving in a dance of sacred geometry, in a cosmos full of wonder and mystery. And here we sit in this sanctuary, in this here body, at this moment in human time. I now invite you to notice your breath as we rush and plan and travel for events such as these. Our breath often becomes shallow and constricted. Such breath keeps us from feeling what we feel and knowing what we know. So let's take a moment for a deep breath in, followed by a full exhale. Clean the slate. From here on out, I invite you to find a comfortable, even, restful, and nourishing pace of breath, feeling what you feel and knowing what you know. Jamie's journey toward ordination began quite some time ago, all the way back in 2018. Much has happened since then. So let's take a final meditative moment together and think back on our connection to Jamie's journey. When did you meet her? How have you been a part of her journey? What has Jamie meant to you? And is there an intention or wish you'd like to hold for her as we move toward the act of ordination? From this place of grounded awareness, of conscious attention, let's now breathe and just be together for a few moments of silence, holding our intentions for this beloved human we are here to honor today. And taking one last inhale in deeply and exhaling fully, you can return to the room, opening your eyes whenever you're ready, as we move on to the act of ordination. We welcome to the pulpit our ordinand, Jamie Johnson, and our USNH Board President, Bobby Pace.
Good afternoon. I'm Bobby Pace. My pronouns are she and her. I am the current president of this congregation, and I welcome you all. And Jamie, Will you please rise and face the congregation? Within the living tradition of Unitarian Universalism, the authority to confer ordination lies wholly within the local congregation. The act of ordination confers the authority of religious leadership, the title of reverend, and the privilege to wear a stole. It is a meaningful and joyous occasion when a congregation recognizes one who has chosen and been chosen for ministry as her life's work. The members of the Unitarian Society of New Haven gather this afternoon to ordain Jamie Wynne Johnson into the ministry. Jamie, we offer you ordination, an act that celebrates the relationship between you and this congregation, which has been instrumental in the formation of your ministry. Among us, and wherever you may serve, we would have you preach the word of truth in freedom and love, minister to our joys and sorrows alike, work for justice and peace, and set by your example how to live the principles of our free faith. Are you ready to enter into this ministry?
I am.
Jamie, we have long recognized your calling to the Unitarian Universalist ministry, discerned here and lovingly expressed in New Haven and in hospitals in Connecticut. The Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association has welcomed you into preliminary fellowship in affirmation of your preparedness for this ministry. It is our privilege to ordain you. I invite the members of USNH to rise in body or spirit and join together in reciting the words of ordination that are in your order of service. Please rise. Members of USNH, we, the members of the Unitarian Society of New Haven, joyfully ordain you, the Reverend Jamie Wynne Johnson, to the ministry in our covenantal tradition. May you minister with your whole self, body, mind, and spirit. May you always speak the truth as you know it, demonstrating humility, curiosity, and courage. May you minister with love, justice, and compassion. Be a witness to the living tradition of our faith, and be faithful in service of healing the world. We pledge to be with you in the spirit of shared ministry and to offer wisdom and compassion. I invite everyone, family, friends, colleagues, and companions to rise in spirit and join together in reciting the words of affirmation that are in your order of service. With joy and pride, we affirm this ordination. We have encouraged and comforted you as you worked and prepared for this day and all the days to come. We offer our continuing love and support. May your ministry nourish you and be a source of salvation and healing in the world. Do you accept the responsibilities and the joys, the privileges, and the burdens of ordained ministry in this Unitarian Universalist tradition?
With gratitude, joy, and love, I do.
May you go forth a minister in this tradition, knowing that the congregations represented here today commission you to serve our Unitarian Universalist faith with passion, conviction, and grace. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. Reverend Jamie Wynne Johnson. We, the congregation of USNH, bestow this stole upon you, a tangible symbol of our deep love and gratitude for all the ministerial gifts you have shared with us during your ministerial training. We are thrilled that you will continue being part of our community as you follow your call as a community minister.
Today, we celebrate you, Jamie. When you wear this stole, please feel our love holding you tightly as we continue in a shared ministry with you in the years to come. You gotta help me. Whoops. Yeah. Whoops. No. Just it. There we go. My only job. Wait.
I don't remember what's next.
I'm next. You're up here.
I'm up here.
And you start.
Yes. The laying on of hands for Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson. This is adapted from Keith Goheen. With our words, we have given our minds consent to the letter of this covenant. Now let us come together in the spirit of covenant, laying on our hands and offering our heart's consent.
As we begin, join me in placing your hand over your heart. Feel its precious beating. Feel, too, the beating of your spiritual heart, and let its compassion and wisdom radiate into your receiving hands.
Hands, when in service to the human spirit, have the power to bless. With touch that heals, touch that comforts. Hands, when pledged in covenant to serve to our neighbor, have power to transform. Through service that strengthens, service that liberates, we, the ministering hands of our religious tradition and the ministering hands of this community, unite in our support of this minister called to minister in the community as a chaplain, the Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson.
Jamie, will you come have a seat? And I'm going to step away from my text for a moment. Jamie, there's one person I know you and your family wish was here who could not be. There is a tradition, a culture, many cultures, in fact, that believe our beloveds are dragonflies. And so I take my dragonfly from my robe and place it before you. Watch my hands shake. That's okay. And now I invite Jamie's family of origin and of choosing to come forward and to gather around Jamie. Your blessings have sustained Jamie through many challenges, from first wondering if she had a call to ministry and letting that call blossom. You had her back when the journey through seminary and clinical pastoral education got rough. You were the ones who witnessed firsthand the exhaustion, the frustration, and the excitement of this journey for Jamie. It is your love, your care for Jamie, that has been and will continue to be instrumental in sustaining Jamie, the person, separate from the Reverend Jamie Wynne Johnson. Jamie needs and will continue to need your love, your care, your joy, silliness, and of course, cats, to give her the blessing she needs when she has used all she has in the pastoral care of others and of our faith.
I now invite our colleagues to come forward, laying hands upon Jamie or others who are already connected to Jamie. For as this crowd gathers in to lay our hands upon Jamie, the distance will grow, but so will the network. The strands of blessing and love that will charge Jamie's spiritual battery and that she will return to time and time again to retrieve your blessings for sustenance in challenging times. Together, you are forming a connected line with hands upon the shoulders of the colleagues before you. In this way, you add your blessing and symbolically the blessing of the ancient and living tradition of colleagues in whose line we stand. Come forward in solemn celebration.
All right. I invite the members and friends of this congregation to come forward, laying hands upon Reverend Johnson and connecting as one body, hand to shoulder, bringing your blessing to all who join together and symbolizing the ancient line of congregations who join with you in living tradition. Come forward in solemn celebration.
Beloved mystery, spirit of love and life, let ours be praying hands, reaching out with the blessed energy rising in our souls and offering it freely in service to the shared ministry between Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson and this faith, congregation, and the wider community.
May all who feel Jamie's ministry find their strength and beauty reflected back in their relationship with this minister. May this minister, empowered by this spiritual gift, give voice to our faith's inspiring message and be a sustaining presence, bear faithful witness to its vision.
Let the spirit-filled light of this gathered community pour out into the world and shine forth from every window as a beacon of welcome to all hands and of hospitality to all souls. Amen. Amen. I'll invite you all to go back to your seats and we'll have. Thank you very much. Okay. Yep, you're coming right next to me here. Come here, my friend.
Uh-oh.
I know.
There are
Oh,
tissues around. Good
Yes,
timing.
yeah. Oh. Yeah. I'm the Reverend Rebecca Sala, and I'm the manager of spiritual health and well-being at Stanford Health, where Jamie is a chaplain, and we are so blessed. And I'm an affiliated community minister at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Westchester. Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson. I'll never get tired of saying that, ever. It is rare in this life to meet someone who is brilliant, compassionate, and completely authentic. You, my friend, embody them all, and I feel so blessed to know you, and it is a privilege to be here with you this afternoon. My first charge to you begins right now. Pause for a moment and look around this sanctuary. Think of all the people on Zoom who are watching and supporting you. I invite you to breathe and take it all in. Remember and savor this moment, how it feels to be loved and held by your community. I charge you to hold on to this sense of encouragement, love, and excitement of and for you and your ministry to help sustain, nurture, and guide you during challenging times. Considering our shared passion and connection for art, I of course need to use an art metaphor, The visual representation of the work we do as chaplains resonates most deeply for me with the 15th century tradition of kintsugi, the Japanese art of mending broken pottery with gold. Jamie, you are not expected to erase the fractures you encounter or ignore their existence. You are charged to bear witness in the presence of pain, transition, crisis, and death. And when there are no words, hold silence so deep it echoes in the rooms and hallways of the hospital. You are charged to see the imperfections in people's lives with reverence and to accompany those in your care with compassion, dignity, and kindness until they reflect their own resilience and truth. Visualize your ministry as a kintsugi bowl, a faithful practice of sacred restoration that does not seek perfection, but beauty in truth. Let every prayer, every conversation, every tear, every vigil, every silence be a line of gold, a gesture of healing in a broken world. As a Unitarian Universalist minister, I charge you to carry our faith into the margins and edges of the world and mend the broken pieces you find there with the gold of your wise and compassionate heart. Continue to speak truth to power. Discern what to hold on to and what to let go of. You cannot do everything. And I will repeat that. You cannot do everything. You have a deep commitment to honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all beings and the interconnectedness of all existence. Your belief that even amidst suffering,
individuals remain connected and whole in ways not always visible to the world is an integral part of who you are as a person. You, Jamie, see and listen the people you meet into being. This ministry is deeply meaningful and not easy, and sometimes can shatter your heart into 1,000 pieces. I charge you to remember your joy. Despite all that is going on in the world, embrace all that connects you to your joy. Time with your beloved family, your friends, cats, all the cats. Exploring museums and new destinations, reading, writing, or creating a beautiful piece of art. Make the time to rest, renew, and restore your spirit. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. And as you walk this beautiful and at times broken path into ministry, may you find that the gold you offer is returned to you in abundance, a reflection of the light you have kindled in others. May you go forward in courage, compassion, and grace. And remember this: you do not do this work alone. We, your community, are here with you. We believe in you. We bless you.
Greetings to everyone here and on Zoom or YouTube or wherever you're going to be watching this, possibly also later, this long-awaited and greatly deserved ordination of the Reverend Dr. Jamie Wynne Johnson. Just very delighted. So I welcome you again, dear colleague, for all this honor and recognition of all of who you are. I am the Reverend Dr. Michelle Walsh, she, her, hers pronouns, and who here, other than Jamie hopefully, knows the land on which you are residing, the indigenous people? One person? What is it? That? Okay, that's your charge. If you don't know it, go look it up, okay? That's your first charge to the community. All right, go look that up. And if you do not know me, I've been grounded in and shaped by both community ministry and parish ministry for many years, both first as a lay person for many years and then as a clergy person. Community ministry is what Unitarian Universalists call the forms of ministry that happen beyond the walls of the congregation, and they are many in addition to chaplaincy. I also was the facilitator for several years of the UUMA Ministerial Formation Network Group that Jamie participated in for these past 4 years. Now, this MFN group had a particular focus on community ministry and parish ministry candidates in clergy formation, who also had interests in the issues of class and classism. This group was very well bonded, tight-knit, and highly supportive of each other, with a broader reputation for their long-term relational success among the UUMA MFN leadership. And Jamie very much was part of the culture of creating that success and safety for this group.
Reverend Jamie is deeply grounded in the importance of relationships and community. One of the things we discussed in this group is the significance of creating an ordination service that theologically reflects who you are as a minister and as a clergy person. Now, Jamie did a very interesting thing for this ordination service, in case you didn't notice it, but I did. She titled this part not as charge to the congregation, but as charge to the community. If you've been to other services, you will notice that it's often called charge to the congregation. And when I asked her about it, she was just like, this is what it is, you know? It was like, you know, and I was like, she's very much making a theological point in that title, even if she doesn't realize it, okay? In Jamie's heart and ministry, there is no separation here of the congregation and the larger community. It is all part and parcel. This congregation, her chaplaincy at various hospitals and in interfaith settings, and her social justice work on behalf of our larger Unitarian Universalist Association are all one and the same community that she serves. Okay? Then that means that there's this reciprocal relationship, responsibility, and accountability in a very broad sense for the ongoing success of Reverend Jamie's ministry to the world. Together, we are all part of the web that holds and supports her. You took a vow together just a couple moments ago, recognizing that fact. And it's a sad and tragic truism that we are living in deeply troubling and challenging times in this country and in our broader world. From the previous yet ongoing years of a pandemic with COVID, to the chainsaw attacks on our democracy and human rights and services, including particularly to the LGBTQI plus community, to the larger violence of war in our world, including Ukraine and the Middle East, and the devastation of Gaza and the rise of anti-Semitic violence here. As Julianne pointed out so brilliantly, what chaplaincy is. It's a ministry of presence, and that is the link between the pastoral and the prophetic in these times. We need a ministry of presence, witness, to help us to engage the prophetic, not to turn away. There's so much to be held in our respective ministries of love and care and compassion, and the prospect of burnout from isolation and what I've learned to call not compassion fatigue, because compassion is never ending. What I've heard is now called as witness fatigue. Witness fatigue. That prospect of burnout is very dangerously even more real in these times. And as my husband and fellow clergy person has said to me recently, it's time to rename what we sometimes call our committees on ministry, that sometimes are not very supportive places. They become places of criticism. We need to rename it something along the lines of the tender care and feeding of our ministers. Or maybe something like the loving up ministry for the survival and thriving of our clergy. Yes. So this is my charge to the community today, this larger community of which Reverend Jamie remains a part in our tradition, but is also called now to serve in more formal ways. Beyond today, and in a sustainable way, how are you going to love up Reverend Jamie beyond today, so that she remains full with her sense of self-respect and her right to set boundaries for rest and spiritual renewal? How are you going to regularly practice noticing, paying attention, as was said in the charge that happened for me in my ordination? How are you going to practice noticing and paying attention when she needs to be able to, of what she needs in order to be able to be there for you in a spiritually grounded way? In meeting people where they are, as my colleague said, whether you realize it or not, chaplaincy is and will remain on the front lines of everything that has to do with justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. JEDI, as some of us like to call it. And Reverend Jamie is your JEDI, serving on those front lines. Please, please, please remember to notice her, pay attention, and know that what she needs sometimes is the more collective spiritual energy of the force from you in her own spiritual renewal in the coming years to continue to serve as your JEDI clergy on the front lines in these times. Thank you. Blessed be. Amen.
Good afternoon. I don't know if you heard the rain begin. I'm Jenny Smith. I am the visitation pastor at a sister denominations church outside of Philadelphia. I am at Pleasantville United Church of Christ, and it is indeed a pleasant place. I am pleased to be with you today as I mark more than 2 decades of knowing Jamie and Ginya. 4 decades. Okay, I can't count. So a long time, but I met Ginya when she was an intern at Bell Labs, and I worked in the corporate world. And through her, met Jamie, and my wife Beth and Jamie share many interests in common, crafts and such. We're pleased to be here, and you know, the journey that I have taken, going from the corporate world to go to seminary, to become ordained, and they drove all the way down for my ordination, and then to be a chaplain, and now a minister of visitation. So it's an honor and a delight to be here and recognize her journey, which is her own, but bears some semblance. Also, the United Church of Christ and the Unitarian Universalist Association have partnered, and goes back a number of years, with the OWL, Our Whole Lives curriculum and some other things. So I come here today as a friend, as a sister pastor, and also just great gratitude for this relationship that we have enjoyed. Will you please pray with me for Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson? Divine One, you have spoken to your people throughout the ages, and you are still speaking to us today. I ask your blessing on this woman who assumes the mantle of responsibility for ministering to all who seek spiritual nurture as they search for meaning, as she brings compassion and consolation in the face of life's challenges, and also death's somber visit in their lives. We are grateful for the many gifts Jamie brings to chaplaincy. She's a skilled listener who will be a source of comfort in times of sorrow, an advocate for justice among those unable to speak for themselves, and a caring presence when silence is sometimes the only response. As Jamie extends her love in the face of human need, may she encounter welcome and find opportunities for renewal and celebration, and may she experience the ongoing presence of a higher power that will guide her steps, preserve her spirit, and light her journey. I ask this in the name of all that is holy. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Deborah Slade, and it has been my great privilege to be Jamie's educator for 4 units of CPE. But a greater privilege to be her colleague, her chaplain colleague at Norwalk Hospital. I bring greetings from Norwalk Hospital. I bring greetings from the Episcopal Church, of which I am a priest. Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson, we are so blessed by you today. Just take one more moment, Jamie, to feel how much you are loved by all the people in this room, and all the people and cats and a horse who love you and who have loved you, who cannot be here with you today, at least in earthly body. We are blessed by you because you bless us. You bless us through your chaplain's heart. You bless us through your deep compassion. You bless us through your commitment to serve, particularly to those who are most vulnerable. With every ounce of your being, you give yourself to making this world better, brighter, more just, more kind, more whole, more healed. As we move to the end of Jamie's ordination, we know that Jamie's ministry will continue to make all of our lives better, and so many others, especially those who are suffering and need her compassionate love. And my blessing to you and to all of us is to remember this glorious day of affirmation and commitment. To all of you, to remember how much you are all loved, all perfect, and all good enough. And to use your gifts of love, kindness, and compassion to help, to heal, and to love each other, and to heal our world. Amen.
Good afternoon. Bonsoir. Buenas tardes. Well, I know Jamie, Reverend Jamie. We had a residency together. And one thing, the secret I want to share with you. Jamie becomes so good because we learn from the best, the 2 educators. We have Reverend Sarah here. We have Reverend Deborah. We're learning from them. Thank you for education. Our prayer is going to be in French. It's okay? Okay, good. Soyons dans l'esprit de prière en ce moment précieux où nous sommes séparés et ordonnés une femme à notre ministère. Nous nous arrêtons pour remercier cette communauté religieuse d'esprit libre dont nous faisons partie. Nous sommes reconnaissants d'être membres d'une Église qui nous inspire de notre quête continue de la vérité. Une Église qui nous encourage dans notre recherche continue de meilleures façons de vivre ensemble. Avec humilité et remerciement, nous nous souvenons des efforts de ces hommes et femmes pionniers de notre jour qui sont combattus. Nous sommes reconnaissants envers tous ceux qui ont consacré leur vie au ministère dans notre foi religieuse libérale. esprit de vie et d'amour. Entrez, nous prions, dans nos cœurs et notre vie particulière dans la vie de notre sœur Jamie Jameson. Reverend Dr. Jamie Jameson. Puisqu'elle est imprégnée d'un esprit de compassion pour ceux qui sont dans le besoin, d'un esprit de sagesse alors qu'elle fait face aux problèmes qui assaitent ses paroissiens, d'un esprit courageux d'humilier alors qu'elle reconnaît ses limites, et surtout l'esprit d'amour alors qu'elle s'aide à toutes sortes de personnes, conditions. Enfin, que cette heure de dévouement ne soit que le début de ministère fructueux qu'elle apportera ainsi qu'à Jamie, qui lui sont plus proches, les grandes durables satisfactions qui viennent à ceux qui se donnent généreusement d'eux-mêmes au service de tous. Amen. Que Dios te bendiga. Amen.
My friends, I believe we are ready to rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
Good afternoon. My name is Becky Sandman. My pronouns are she, her. I'm on the Ordination Committee, and it's been so much fun. We're here to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Okay, I'm the Reverend Dr. Jamie Johnson. And it is with profound gratitude that I offer this benediction that I've thought about for a long time and still have not finalized until it comes out of my mouth. For, on this day, 81 years ago, on the beaches of Normandy, for the trans women and the queer community in Stonewall in New York City, for all of us who fight tyrants and the wave of fascism, I offer this blessing. May the big, fat, joyful wings of the Spirit of life cover you all with love and joy and peace and hope. And may you spread this to those that you meet in the days and weeks to come. Amen. Blessed be.
Everybody's